Now, if you have no idea what the lines are going to be, how are they supposed to know? Or wait, is that the other way around? Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. On our app, DK Pittsburgh Sports, we have a community. These are people who are subscribers to our premium level. They populate our comment section. They're from all over the world. And for the most part, and if you think about it, it makes sense, they're really, really knowledgeable. Intensely passionate, intensely knowledgeable. So when I put up a playful entry in what we call our Penguins feed that challenged everyone to come up with the lines that Mike Sullivan would use on the 9th of October against the Rangers, and you couldn't use any funny asterisks about injuries or this or that. It just had to be your 12 forwards. No slashes. No, maybe it'll be this guy. Maybe it'll be that guy. Give me your 12 forwards who are playing that night against the Rangers. It won't surprise you, probably won't surprise you, that every single response was different. We did not have a match in the entire group. And that's because, as longtime listener and reader Cody pointed out, this DK is a sadistic question. That's Cody's term, not mine. He starts, we're going to read you his first. He starts with the easy ones, he calls them. And I think we would pretty much agree on these. It's Drew O'Connor, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust on the first line, Michael Bunting, Evgeny Malkin, Ricard Raquel on a second. Doesn't mean somebody else couldn't sneak in. And again, we're doing this independent of injuries and other variables like that. And then, as Cody says, you get to the absolutely brutal ones. He has Anthony Beauvillier and Cody Glass around Kevin Hayes. He has Blake Lizotte and Noel Acciari around Lars Eller. Now, never mind that Cody is risking being banished for life from our community for daring to suggest that Eller would be a fourth-line center. These, to me, they kind of make sense. Remember, the idea here isn't to say which ones you want. It's which ones you think Sullivan would take. And as we were talking about just this past week, Acciari's going to play. He's a penalty killer. He's a shot blocker. He works hard along the boards. He's a lot of things that Sullivan likes out of his bottom six. And from there, Cody points out that his healthy scratches, since the cap space would allow the Penguins to have the full 23-man roster, which, by the way, they probably won't have for that game, Jesse Puljujarvi and Valtteri Puustinen would be his up-front scratches. I'm not so sure about that because I think Puustinen in that case would be sent back to Wilkes-Barre to try to just keep playing. But then from there, with the rest of these entries, there would just be a tick here or there. Like, for example, the next one I'm looking at has Puljujarvi as the right winger instead of Acciari. I think that's hopeful. That came from Dave. The next one from Mike correctly assigns Eller to the third line spot. I mean, come on. I'm not even being weird here. Eller had a much, much better season than Hayes did. I think people are still thinking of Hayes the last time they noticed him inside the division. He really, really struggled in St. Louis. JS breaks the mold a little bit. He wants Glass all the way up with Sid, and he's got Bunting on Sid's left wing. None of this is going to happen, my man. I appreciate you, trying to stand out a little bit here. His point here is that he wants to balance speed through all of the lines. I don't believe you need to balance anything when it comes to a top six. You need a top six that can score, period. Brian has no use for Hayes, does not put him in his lineup. He has Glass at his natural center position working on the fourth line. I've got no problem with that. Sean, immediate DQ, my man. What is this? He has Eller on his fourth line left wing with Acciari centering. Dude, no. Just no. Take it back. We can still be friends. We really can. Brian's the first one I see sneaking Puustinen into his top 12, and I really hope that there's more of that kind of sentiment, whether it's from a prediction or a projection standpoint, meaning, what you think Sullivan's going to do and what you hope he's going to do, if Puustinen shoots the hockey puck, if he does that on a regular basis, or maybe even emphasizes it and pushes it, he can be somebody who stars in camp. And I don't think that's a small thing. But on that note, you know what? I'm scrolling through all of these, and another name I don't see anywhere from anybody, not even as a healthy scratch, is Sam Poulin. And that tells me a lot about how a lot of you value his potential, because the funny thing about Sam is when he's healthy and he's right, all he does in the minors is score at a very high rate, and he comes with other pluses. That's somebody who, I know he's been around for a while, and I know he's not exactly a kid from prospect perspectives, but he too might be able to punch through. And bear in mind that a lot of these assignments that I see on these lists that look automatic, like Beauvillier and to some extent Hayes, I don't see it that way at all. Same goes for Glass. I mean, all of these players, all three of these guys I just mentioned, weren't locks to be in their lineups last season. Why would they be at the start of the next season? Anyway, this was fun. I appreciate everybody who participated in this. If you're not on our app, by the way, get that fixed. You know, it's easy to find. Go to Apple or Google Play and just type in DK Pittsburgh Sports. App is free, and we'd love to have you in there. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Nolan, and it's not really a question. He's responding to the segment that I did last Friday on Ryan Getzlaf getting the job with the NHL's Department of Player Safety, and my hope that that'll lead toward more emphasis on skilled/star players being protected versus, having George Peros in charge without any such advisement in the room. And within that episode, an attempt to keep it fair, because I've been really hard on Gary Bettman for a lot of different things over the years, I did tap a stick in his direction for the fact that the game has become more exciting, with more speed, more creativity, and more goals. To which Nolan says, DK, I couldn't agree more that the NHL has done a great job with scoring and getting more skill in the game. The low scoring /huge goalie / no ability to score from anything other than rebounds and deflections from 8-9 years ago was becoming a huge concern for me as a fan. Now, I think it's as entertaining as I've ever seen, and I'm very grateful for that. I have nothing to add to that other than I'm going to buttress your point here with some statistics. This past season, the average number of goals in an NHL game was 6.22. Historically speaking, if you're over 6, you're in good shape. If you're over 7, you're in the 1980s. But those times, and for those of us who lived through them, were based way, way, way more on goaltending equipment being tiny, goaltending technique being nowhere near what it became even just a decade later with the proliferation of the butterfly through the entire sport. It used to be just a handful of goaltenders who were taking away the lower part of the net, and it soon became all of them. But you still needed to take other negative elements out. You needed to take out the hooking, the holding, the slashing, which only recently became a point of emphasis and was a way bigger detriment than even maybe those other two, because you were just basically allowed to hack and whack at somebody's hands and wrists. And then they stopped that. You've seen that. If they see it even a little bit, or even just on the stick, they'll sit you for 2. But there's also other variables, and I don't have these stats in front of me. The league puts them out on occasion because they're really proud of this, and they should be. There are comebacks all the time. Like, look, you and I are going to complain when the Penguins blow their late leads or give up goals late in a period, but the league sees that, and rightly so, as a good thing because the game is more interesting. You don't turn off the game. You don't walk out to the concession stand if you're at the game. You're glued to the whole thing because you never know what might happen. It's not like a coach can just say, hey, everybody, just sit in one spot of the rink and make sure you don't give up a goal in this situation. Can't do it. Can't do it. This isn't soccer where you can just park the bus in front of the net. I'm kidding, of course. They don't park buses. It's a term that they use. The soccer people do. I tried to sound soccer-ish for you there for a moment. But there's one other thing that I think is almost as important, maybe in somebody's eyes would be more important than anything I just said. And that's that if you're the league and you promote or you place an emphasis on what a Connor Bedard does when he comes into the league, or even someone who's more of a gimmicky type like a Trevor Zegras, and you say, hey, look at what these kids are doing. This is a blast. We didn't see players doing this 10 years ago because they'd have their wrists chopped off, or they'd be grabbed with both arms. But now you see that emphasis on the skill and the Michigan and the flip pass and the carrying the puck on your blade 30 feet down the rink. That would actually have gotten you killed about 20 years ago. Ask Phil Bourque about his story on that front. Wow, good question, or good feedback, good everything from everybody. We're going to keep talking hockey. We're going to do this through August. We're going to make it through the first 2 weeks of September, and then when we get to training camp, it's just going to feel like Christmas, Let's hook up again tomorrow.